this is Blake with the Three Hand Hunter channel, and I'm actually really excited, a little sad, but really excited though, to share with you the Dietrich SD2. This is a really quite amazing timepiece, and it's something that I wanted in my collection for a long time. I want to talk a little bit about Dietrich, and I want to talk a little bit about this particular watch. And make sure you stick around, because you'll notice if you're familiar with this watch, you're going to notice a unique band on this watch. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the band itself, and we're going to talk about how perfect it is for this particular piece. But before I go on, and I have a lot to talk about today, but before I go on, if you like to see content, you like to see, watches that you might not see on every other YouTube channel, make sure you click the subscribe button. And if you like the content, hit like. And if you had any experiences with a Dietrich watch, I'd love to hear from you. And I'm sure other watch enthusiasts would love to hear from you as well, because, by jumping in the comments, making comments does help the YouTube algorithm. So I'd appreciate it. And I'm sure everybody else would appreciate to hear your experiences with this particular company. Now, I want to talk a little bit about this, because you'll notice in the title, it says, make sure you get one while you can. Dietrich is a company I've been following for years. Emmanuel Dietrich has made some pretty cool watches, and I do like micro brand watches a lot, because it gives individual watch enthusiasts an opportunity to really show you how they see, a timepiece and design. But most micro brands just really follow, the rules, and the rules, the horology rules, and they take a lot of off-the-shelf components. And what you'll notice if you follow Emmanuel Dietrich and you've watched his journey over the last decade or so, he makes some really unique timepieces. Everything from the time companion, the organic time, and his high horology piece that he did, the perception, which was really cool. And I'll be showing you images along the way. I had always been attracted to the Dietrich watch brand, not because I love the watches per se, or the actual styling per se, but what I could always appreciate is the fact that you have an individual person, a designer, a watch enthusiast, a maker, going out on a limb and doing what they love and expressing their own tastes in a timepiece. And it's not going to be for everybody. It's obviously not going to be. But when the SD-2 1 came along, I knew that I wanted this watch in my collection. I ended up not getting an SD1, but I ended up getting this SD-2, which you see right here. Now, the reason why I put this in my collection at this point in time, because I'd been hunting around for an SD1, because I just love the aesthetic of this watch. I love what Emmanuel has done with everything about this watch. But I love the SD1. I love the bracelet that came off the time companion, basically, and he put it on the Skin Diver. But this holiday season, I noticed that these SD-2s were on, they were on some gray market sites, Joma Shop, Ashford, and they're still there. So take note of that, because they are still there right now. And they were significantly discounted. I'm like, well, I have to get one. So I did. And I'm so glad that I did. Now, the reason why I'm telling you this is because I actually sent an email to Dietrich, because the website was down, and he said, yeah, I'm having some difficulties. But after having an email conversation with Emmanuel, I found out that he had posted something on Facebook. I'm not on Facebook, so I don't join Facebook groups. But he gave me the message that he left on the Facebook group, basically that he was going to take some time away and not create any more watches. But he thanked everybody in the community for allowing him the ability for the last 10 years to create these beautiful timepieces that we have all gotten to enjoy over the last decade. So I wrote him he didn't know that I had this YouTube channel. It didn't really matter. But I gave him some kind words and told him how much I appreciated him expressing his style through timepieces, and I really enjoyed them. And he said, thanks a lot for your kind words and commitment. It's exactly because of people like you that I had the energy to maintain this child of a brand alive for the past 10 years. Now I'll rest a bit and think about the future. Time is precious. And, you know, taking those words, I know, and then reading his post that he'd give me in his post to read, he is going to be stepping away from the brand. And this gave him an opportunity to go to the gray market and sell off his inventory and you know, continue on with his life. And I know he's not too far off of my age. He's got a couple of kids that are in their 20s, early 20s. And so, you know, he's obviously in a different stage of his life. But I'm going to tell you all this because if you have been attracted to a Dietrich watch, this is the time that you're going to want to get one because they might not be around forever. Now, I'm going to talk about the SD1, or excuse me, SD2, and what I did to customize this watch. Just customize it. I mean, I put on this bracelet, but how perfect does that bracelet match with this watch? I'm going to tell you all about that here in a minute, so make sure you don't go anywhere. But I wanted to give you some of this backstory because it's important to understand that if you do want a Dietrich watch, like I'm going to be hunting down personally an organic time. They're a little bit bigger, they're a little bit more obnoxious, but it's definitely a wild card watch that I'd like to have in my personal collection. So anyway, let's get to the SD2 and let's talk a little bit about this. So this watch, so now you know why I was hunting one down, and I'm so glad I got the black dial. I do think the blue dial version is also equally as cool. I, you know, went back and forth between the two. But let's talk a little bit, and I'm going to give you a little bit of a review on this particular watch. So the watch itself is a 39 millimeter case, okay, and you can see it's extremely comfortable to wear. It does have 20 millimeter lug widths. The lug to lug is 46, obviously a very wearable case, and it's pretty thin. It just for a skin diver, you know, it's just about 13 millimeters, but that is with this raised crystal. Now, there are pros and cons to this watch, as there is every watch, as you all know, but I'm going to list out some of the things that I love about it, but I'm going to also talk about some of the things that I'm not so keen on, but it's not dissuading me from getting rid of this watch. I love this watch all in all. So first of all, let's talk about the bezel insert. It is an aluminum bezel insert. I don't mind aluminum at all because I like it when watches patina. If this got a scratch on it, it wouldn't. It would have a story to it. You know, nowadays with the ceramic bezels, they look newer for longer, but the watches always like to tell a story. So if you're going to keep a watch, like I'm going to keep this one in my collection, you know, little dents and dings and scratches, I don't really mind because they're my scratches, they're my story to my watch. So anyway. That's that. We do have a sandwich dial. Now you're going to notice the crystal. The crystal has some AR coating, but it's not very good. And it does distort a little bit. And so I would love to have seen a little bit more AR. And you know, the loom, and I'll show you some loom shots. It's not the best loom out there in the world, but look at the handset. The handset is so unique. It's so Dietrich. And you'll notice there's a lot of common design languages between this model and other models out there. This dial is different from the SD1, where this is a sandwich dial, where the previous SD1 versus the SD2, the SD1, I believe, had a sandwich dial. And I might be hunting down an SD1 because I do really love the design. It's a smaller watch. It wears very comfortable on the wrist, but I want to show you a couple other features to this watch. If you look on the case back, there's nothing on the case back, nothing whatsoever. It's perfect for those of you that want to put a family crest or engrave something on the back of that watch. But all of the information on the watch will be located inside of the lugs, which is a really neat feature of this watch. And I should be showing you some close-up views of underneath the lug so you can see exactly what it says. It's pretty cool. Crown, screw down crown. Here's the side profile of the watch, screw down crown. It's got the fish engraving, which is, I believe it's a religious symbol for those of you that know that. Drilled lug holes, which is nice, makes it very easy to change out straps. You notice that the bezel is not perfectly round. It's the hexagon, which is very much the design language of all Dietrich watches. You'll notice a hexagon throughout all of his design, which makes it a little unique when you're turning it. The bezel action, it's okay. It's not the best I've ever had, but it does line up, and it feels weird when you're when you think in your mind you're going to have a round bezel, and you don't. You have a hexagon, which makes it really unique. But it's easy to grip, which is nice, and you can see it lines up perfectly. The crown is a screw down crown, and I will tell you that the screw down action on my particular model is not. It's a little gritty. It's not perfect by any stretch of the means. But we do have a Swiss, and I believe this is a Solito, and I should have looked at that. I'll confirm that. A Solito movement on the inside, so it's a Swiss movement. But it does have a ghost date, which is one of the things that I really wish it didn't have, because this is a time only 3-hand watch without date. I wish there was no ghost date, but there is. But again, you got a Swiss movement, so you take the good with the bad. And my watch runs, a few seconds fast a day, which is totally fine with me. Now, what originally came on the watch was this rubber strap. You'll notice my rubber strap is unworn. It's short, and it's probably best suited for somebody who has less than a 7-inch wrist. But if you have a less than a 7-inch wrist, it's going to be a great rubber strap. I don't think it's FKM rubber, but it's not Italian rubber, but it is not a lint magnet by any stretch of the means. The hardware is signed, and it's actually really quite beautiful. But you'll notice that we have a 20 millimeter taper down to 16 millimeters, so it's extremely comfortable. I can actually fit this on my 7¼ inch wrist. I get to the second to the last hole, which is fine. It's not the end of the world. I just prefer to wear this watch on a flat FKM rubber strap, because you'll notice underneath the lugs, it's kind of like a hooded lug design. So the FKM rubber just kind of completely disappears inside of the hooded lug, which just brings the complete focus to the dial, the bezel, and it's an extremely beautiful dial, bezel, handset. White sweeping hand or a seconds hand, which is all white. It is really just one of my favorite skin diver designs, and it's so unique. It's not something you're going to see on every watch. The case finishing, extremely beautiful. Notice the beveling around the watch. The watch is extremely well done. Again, I'm just going to leave you with this as far as the cons go. There's the crown action isn't the best. The bezel action is not the best. The crystal, I wish there was more AR. But other than that, this watch is awesome, and it's a 39 millimeter, so it wears so great on the wrist. I do want to share with you at this time this bracelet. So you'll notice the bracelet and how perfect it fits into the hooded lug design. You can see it was almost made for this watch. You can see that if you would take the hooded lug, it actually matches the links. Now this this bracelet came from a Chinese manufactured San Martin. The number, and you can get these all day long on AliExpress, was SN045G. That's the model number of this. And believe it or not, this is not a bad watch. It's an original design San Martin, which, I'm not a big San Martin fan. I don't like to have watches that are direct homages to other watches, that if you just swap out the name, you have another watch, you have the original watch. I'm not a big fan of that. And and to each his own. It's, I think it's cool that anybody wears a watch, for that matter, when you in this day and age where you don't need to wear a watch. But it's just not my thing. But having an original design like this was, okay, I could do that. But I really just wanted it so I could have the bracelet. And this bracelet's really well done. And you can see nice clasp. The only thing I wish it didn't have is I wish it didn't have that logo. But you guys, you're like me. If we're watch guys, we're watch nerds. Very few people actually even recognize that you're wearing a watch. And the ones that do, most of them don't even know what watch you're wearing. And the very few that do, that actually can say, wow, you're a watch guy. It's far and few between. So no one's going to notice the class that says San Martin. But what people will notice is this beautiful design in this head of this watch, and how the bracelet just really fits on the fits the case perfectly. So I'm going to put it on my wrist. I'm wearing a SARB 035 right now on a Cola Reb strap. You know, one of the original OG. I'm sure many of you love this watch. Actually, very, very similar size. Let's just compare the two. You have this SARB that's a 38.5. You have the Dietrich that's 39. And you can see they look pretty close, and they wear very similarly, believe it or not. This watch is extremely comfortable on the wrist, and you can see how it looks perfect with this you know, San Martin strap and bracelet. How great does that match? And it wears perfect. For my wrist, at a 7¼ inch wrist, wearing less than 40 millimeters is extremely comfortable, and I can wear this all day long and barely even feel the watch. And, you know, so you can see why the trends are going towards sub 40 millimeter, because it's such an easy watch to wear. You know, before I sign off, I need to say this. I do love micro brands. I don't keep a lot of them in my collection. I like to get them, to try them, to see them, to feel them. But there's very few that actually end up staying in my collection long term. This is a watch that will, because I can truly appreciate what Emmanuel has done over the years. And I applaud and can get behind somebody that takes their vision, they take a risk, and they want to share it with the world. And I can appreciate that. So Emmanuel, if you're watching this video, I hope someday in the future you come back, you make a resurgence, and you bring us some more of your great designs, because there are those of us in the watch community that really appreciate what you do. So if you've made it this far, let me introduce myself. My name is Blake. I'm a bit of a watchaholic, and my assumption is if you made it this far, you're a watchaholic too. So thanks for listening in. Thanks for spending your time with me, and I hope you really enjoyed this video. I'll see you in the next one.